My son was hardworking, honest, and kind. He always put others before himself. That was why everyone loved him. When he passed away unexpectedly, my world shattered into a million pieces. Losing a child is something no parent should ever experience. The pain was unbearable. My tears never stopped flowing, and every corner of the house reminded me of him. The silence of the nights was the loudest sound I had ever heard. But what no one knew, not even his wife, was that my son had left behind something extraordinary. $35 million. Money he had built, saved, and invested over the years. Money he never bragged about, never wasted, and never revealed to anyone. He had trusted me with the knowledge of it. He told me before he passed, "Mom, if anything ever happens to me, this money is in your hands. Protect it. Don't let it be misused. Don't let it fall into the wrong hands. You will know what to do." At first, I thought about telling his wife. She was, after all, his widow. But then I remembered his words, the look in his eyes when he said them. I remembered how she treated him sometimes, with indifference, with impatience. I remembered how she once told me she would never want a child because children are a burden, though later she changed her story. So, I kept quiet. I mourned silently, and I guarded the secret with my life. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. My daughter-in-law began showing signs of moving on with her life faster than I expected. She dressed differently, spent hours outside, and I would sometimes hear whispers of her being seen with another man. My heart ached, not for her, but for my son, whose love for her had been genuine, pure, and unwavering. Then one day, she came to me with news. She said she was pregnant. Her face glowed with pride as if this child would be the ticket to secure her future. My heart froze. Pregnant. My son had been gone for nearly 6 months. I looked into her eyes, trying to read her soul. Something was not right, but I said nothing. I only nodded. As months passed, her belly grew, and she often reminded me that this child was the last gift my son had left me. She said I should think of the baby as a reason to live again. Part of me wanted to believe her, to cling to the hope that a piece of my son still lived on. But another part of me was filled with doubt. When the baby was born, he was beautiful. Innocent eyes, tiny fingers, soft cries. I held him in my arms and felt an ache so deep it broke me. Could this really be my son's child? I wanted to believe, but doubts tormented me. My daughter-in-law, however, seemed less attached to the baby than I expected. She often left him with me, disappearing for hours, sometimes even days. Rumors grew stronger. People whispered that she was involved with another man long before my son died. I brushed it off, until one evening, I found messages on her phone. Messages filled with love, promises, and secrets with a man I had never heard of. My hands shook as I read them. The truth was closing in, but I needed proof. Proof not for me, but for the future of the child and for the memory of my son. I decided to conduct a DNA test. Quietly, without telling her, I took samples from the baby. My hands trembled as I sealed the envelope and sent it away. Days of waiting felt like years. Each morning I woke with dread, each night I lay in bed with prayers. I prayed for the result to show that the baby was truly my son's child. Because if he was, I would give him the $35 million without hesitation. That money was meant for my son's blood, his legacy, his child. But if not, then the truth had to be faced. Finally, the day came. The envelope was delivered. My heart pounded as I opened it. I read the words again and again, my eyes filling with tears. The child was not my son's. The DNA test confirmed my worst fears. He was another man's son. I sat in silence, holding the paper, feeling as though I had lost my son all over again. The little boy I had rocked in my arms, the child I had started to love as my own grandson, was not connected to me by blood. My son's widow had lied to me, to everyone, just to secure her place and perhaps gain access to the fortune she never even knew existed. When she came home, I confronted her. At first, she denied it, her eyes wide with fake innocence. But when I showed her the paper, she collapsed. Tears rolled down her face as she admitted everything. She confessed that she had been seeing another man while still married to my son, and that this child was his. She said she was scared, that she had nothing else, that she thought if she convinced me the baby was my son's, she would be taken care of. My heart broke, not only for my son but for the innocent child who had no fault in this. He had been born into lies, into betrayal, into a web spun by his own mother. I told her the truth that night. I told her about the 35 million. Her eyes widened with greed, and she screamed at me, asking why I hadn't given it to her already. She said she deserved it as his widow. But I stood firm. That money, I said, was for my son's blood. For his child. Not for strangers. Not for liars. She tried to threaten me, saying she would take me to court, that she would expose me. But she didn't know that the money was secured in trusts and investments only I could control. She had no power. In the days that followed, she packed her things and left. She took the baby with her, though I begged her to let me raise him. Despite knowing he was not my blood, I had grown attached to him. He was innocent, and he deserved love. But she was stubborn. She left with nothing but her lies and her greed. I was left alone again, with only memories of my son and the weight of his last words. The 35 million remained untouched, guarded. People often ask me why I never used it for myself, why I kept it hidden. And the answer is simple. Because it was not mine. It was my son's legacy, meant for the right hands, meant for the right bloodline. Sometimes, late at night, I dream of my son walking through the door, smiling, alive. In those dreams, he thanks me for protecting his legacy, for not letting his life's work fall into the hands of someone who never truly loved him. Life has taught me that truth always comes out, no matter how deeply buried. Lies may live for a while, but they always collapse under the weight of reality. My daughter-in-law thought she could secure her future with deception, but in the end, she lost everything. As for me, I live each day honoring my son's memory, keeping his legacy safe until the day comes when perhaps, just perhaps, another true heir of his blood will appear. Until then, I guard the secret, I guard the fortune, and I guard the love I still hold for the son I lost too soon. Because love, unlike money, can never be stolen, never be faked, and never die. And that is the story I carry in my heart. A story of loss, secrets, betrayal, and the unshakable bond between a mother and her son.